الهيئة العامة للسياحة والآثار. ملتقى السفر والاستثمار السياحي.
Good evening. اسمي جارد. أنا مبسوط أكون هنا اليوم. أتكلم عربي شوي بس so لازم أتكلم إنجليزي. طيب؟ ما مشكلة? It's okay? طيب. I'm happy to be here. I'm a strategic advisor for the Saudi Exhibition and Convention Bureau. And the Saudi Exhibition and Convention Bureau is a government organization that looks after the development of the business events sector within the kingdom. And the business events sector includes exhibitions, conventions, meetings, seminars, and so forth. So there's a lot of responsibility that falls to the Bureau in regards to developing the industry in its entirety. One of the areas that we've noticed within the business events industry in Saudi Arabia is a lack of tourism services being offered to event organizers and to events as they're being held around the country. And tourism services are a key part of events everywhere in the world. And we'll talk a little bit about what I mean by tourism services here shortly. But we see a great opportunity for companies to invest in providing tourism services to events throughout the country. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this evening. The presentation that I'm giving this evening is going to focus on the coordinating companies who provide tourism services to business events. And again, business events, exhibitions, conventions, seminars, and meetings, and so forth. There are three categories of service providers within tourism services for business events. And those include travel agencies, tour operators, and the last is DMCs, or destination management companies. Is everybody here familiar with the term DMC? By a show of hands, do you know DMC? No? Okay, that's fine, you're in the right room. We're going to talk about DMCs. So the first two areas we're not going to focus on too much because they're not primary service providers within the business events area. However, they do play a role, so I'll mention them briefly. The first being travel agencies, and we all know travel agencies, of course. Travel agencies are typically an outbound travel retailer. So individuals who want to obtain travel for either leisure or business purposes can go to a travel agency within their local market and certainly obtain their services. So they do play a part in developing tourism services for the business events sector. However, this discussion tonight is looking at tourism services from the destination's perspective, the destination which is hosting these events. So travel agencies are typically outside of that destination, obviously. Tour operators play another vital role in coordinating tourism services for business events in the terms of leisure activities, tours, group movement, even individual movement, obviously from a leisure perspective. And tour operators are very prominent here in Saudi Arabia, of course, especially when it comes to religious tourism. They play a vital role in Hajj and Umrah tour or travel. So they certainly play a role, but they play a minor role when it comes to offering services to business events. The third one is the DMC, which we're going to talk about this evening. DMCs globally focus on providing tourism services specifically to business events. And we're going to discuss how wide of a variety there is within the DMCs themselves and how customers have to focus on making sure they know their objectives and what services they require for their events in order to make sure they're selecting the correct service provider. Our world the tourism world is full of acronyms. We love to shorten terminology down to a few letters. And there are two basic terms or acronyms that often get confused within the industry, and that's the difference between a DMO and a DMC. A DMO is a destination marketing organization, which is typically often a governmental tourism organization whose responsibility is to promote that destination or that region for tourism. The good example here, of course, is SCTA, the Saudi Commission for Tourism and Antiquities. The DMC is a destination management company, which is a privately held company that offers tourism services to either individuals or to groups. And of course, tonight we're talking about groups within business events. A good example of that is Jawla DMC, which is based here in Riyadh. Is there anybody here tonight for Jawla? No? Okay, we're going to talk about them then. So a destination management company, again a DMC, is a company that provides professional services, again either to individuals or group, and we'll talk about the difference of those here in just a moment, based upon extensive knowledge, expertise, and operations within a specific destination or region. They specialize in the design and implementation of events, activities, tours, transportation, and specifically important for events is the program logistics. A DMC can offer a plethora of services. And again, as a customer, an event organizer needs to identify in advance what the objectives are for that particular event, what kind of programs they want to offer for that particular event, in order to qualify the DMC in advance to ensure that they're partnering with the right type of organization. And what we see here in Saudi Arabia from a business event standpoint is that event organizers typically aren't looking at all of the extra services or extra programs that could be added into their event program to make it even more spectacular. Some of those are off-site events, whether it's a board of directors meeting at a local museum or a high-level dignitary social event at one of the hotels or in one of the unique venues, maybe a spousal program. Oftentimes programs in other parts of the world include a spouse program encouraging people to bring their families. Of course, from a tourism perspective, that is really, really important. If a traveler is attending an event and they bring their family, their length of stay is typically going to grow. They're going to stay in our destination more nights. They're going to spend more money. So it's really important to encourage those types of things. So DMCs can offer any of these services, from city tours to boat and yacht trips, desert safaris, and so forth. Can't hear? Oh, is this better? Okay. We're competing for noise, I think, for space. So these kind of services can be provided by a DMC. Again, the event organizer has to determine what their objectives are, what services they require from a DMC in order to select the right one. And I'll caution again, and I know there's not a lot of DMCs. We know of one DMC here in Saudi Arabia, and we're hoping through these kind of conversations to encourage more investment into DMCs. But as DMCs go, not all of them are like the other, meaning that every DMC is a little different in what they do, how they behave, the services that they offer, and the experiences that they have. So why would an event organizer want to use a DMC? For lots of reasons. From a negotiation standpoint, if you consider, even here in Saudi Arabia, which the events industry is very domestic, if you have an event organizer, for example, sitting in Khobar or in Dammam, they want to take a board of directors group or a group of VIPs, maybe it's a visiting delegation, whatever the case is, and they want to take them to Tabuk, or if they want to take them to Jeddah, or if they want to take them to Ahel, to some of these other areas that they may not be familiar with. If there's a DMC in that particular market, think about the services that they would provide. They would be able to negotiate local services on behalf of that customer that's sitting in Dammam. They know the local networks. You have one point of contact You as the event organizer don't need to contact a hotel, you don't need to contact a transportation company, you don't need to contact a printing company, you don't need to contact excursions or local activities. You have one person who is a specialist in that local market who can do all of those things. Awareness of the local activities, they know exactly what's going on. They know the best venues that you need to take into consideration. They have access to these venues. Supposedly, hopefully, they have creative ideas. We all work within a budget. So hopefully that local DMC has creative ways to make sure that your budget delivers on what your objectives are for that event. And they're able to assist in measuring ROI. And you'll hear more and more about measuring ROI for events as the event industry continues to expand here in the kingdom. So how does a DMC fit into large-scale events? We've talked about some of the services they can provide, we've talked about what kind of value they bring, but how do they really fit into the planning and organizing of a large-scale event? Typically how it works, and of course there's variations to this, but typically the event owner will go out and contract an event organizer. That event organizer oftentimes is called a PCO, or a professional congress organizer. And we have lots of event organizers, really good, strong quality organizers here in Saudi Arabia working, so there's a lot of options from a PCO standpoint. Where the challenge comes in is that there's a lack of DMCs to provide all of the services beyond what the PCO does. So typically the professional congress organizer, on behalf of the event owner, will go out and secure a venue. In the case of this illustration, a convention center. We'll typically work with airlines, Saudia, Flynas, or any airline that makes sense to them, to have an airline partnership to make sure they're getting people from wherever they're coming from into the destination. And then they'll contract the hotels. The next step for an event owner in large-scale events is to contract a DMC. This destination management company will look after coordinating airport arrivals, coordinating any off-site social events that need to take place, ground transfers, spouse programs, and excursions. The DMC can be hired by the event owner, or in some cases directly from the PCO or the conference organizer. In addition, the DMC sometimes will look after the hotel contracting and hotel coordination. To give you an illustration in real terms, I use the International Diabetes Federation World Congress, which took place in Dubai a couple of years ago. In this case, the International Diabetes Federation hosted the World Diabetes Congress, which attracted over 13,000 delegates, 364 local and international speakers, and presented 1,923 abstracts during the conference. So it's a very big conference, very detail-oriented, and lots of planning obviously took place. So the IDF hired a company called CSI, which is Congress Solutions International. CSI contracted the World Trade Center for the event. They partnered with Emirates Airlines as the official air carrier for the event, and then subsequently contracted 16 hotels to make sure that everybody attending had a place to stay. They then hired the DMC, Arabian Adventures, and Arabian Adventures coordinated everything from airport arrival, the off-site social events, which there were many, ground transfers, spouse programs, excursions, and then they also coordinated the 16 hotels that the PCO had contracted earlier. In this case, you can see that there's immense responsibility, immense communication that needs to take place between the PCO and the DMC in order to make sure that the objectives of that event are met and that those 13,858 delegates go away with some level of satisfaction and fulfillment. What do customers look for when selecting a DMC? They certainly ask questions such as, how long has that company been in business? So if an organizer is coming here to Saudi Arabia, and just last week we had an event organizer out of the UK come to us and ask for a DMC referral, and these are some of the questions that they asked. How long has that company been in business, in this case Java? What technology do they use? How modern are their services? What is their experience level? Do they have the experience to take care of the size and the scope of the event in which we're hosting? For example, with IDF, when they're looking for a DMC in Dubai for that 13,000 people, does that DMC have the ability to actually cater to or take care of 13,000 individuals for that particular program? Is the DMC accredited? How many full and part-time staff do they have? And out of those staff, are they qualified? Are they trained? What is the quality and quantity of their vehicles? If you're an event organizer in Dammam and you're taking your board of directors to an event in Jeddah, can you put them in just any vehicle? Or does it need to be an executive level vehicle? Is it properly cleaned? Is it properly maintained? Are the drivers professional? Are they in uniform, etc.? Are they service focused? Keeping in mind, as an event organizer, the DMC that you choose is an extension of your brand. These people are representing who you are as an event organizer, as an event owner. Who will the contacts be? Are they insured against accidents? And how they deal with potential risks. When you're moving people around, when these people are in your care, there's a lot of risk or potential risk that can certainly happen. So is that DMC prepared for those risks? Have they trained their staff to react positively or effectively in an accident or if someone is injured? And these things do happen, of course. DMCs also bring great buying power. So if you're dealing with a DMC in Riyadh or a DMC in Jeddah, these DMCs have great partnerships with local hotels, with attractions, transportation companies, leisure events, guides, and other service providers, because they're sending the business on a regular basis. So they have buying power, which obviously is advantageous to the event owner. DMCs can, of course, operate in a lot of different regions. They can operate locally, perhaps in just Jeddah, or in this case in the Medina province. They can operate throughout a region, or they can operate nationally. Event owners or event organizers, when selecting a DMC, of course, need to make sure that those DMCs have the resources, whether they're through human resources, human capital, vehicle resources, technology resources, and so forth, to handle groups in all parts of the country simultaneously. So it's really important, again, that DMCs are qualified to deliver the services in which you need. So tourism service providers, including DMCs, must be trusted, they must be reliable, and they must be professional. Again, these people are extensions of your brand and of your event. Marketing tourism services, how DMCs typically attract business. If you're deciding that you want to open a DMC service or expand a current tour operator service to be a full DMC operator, and you want to start marketing that product, certainly having your own website, having your own web presence is crucial, especially if you're going to attract individual tour customers. Having an online presence is absolutely important. Making sure you have a presence in referral websites. The Saudi Exhibition and Convention Bureau, for example, has a current website, but is relaunching a new website, a new portal in November, which will have an online directory for all service providers, including DMCs. Industry-related trade shows, such as the Arabian Travel Market or IMEX, which is being held in Frankfurt in May. Print publications like Meet Saudi Arabia. And if you haven't seen Meet Saudi Arabia, the publication, I invite you to go by the Bureau's stand here at the trade show and take a look at the publication. It's a great resource. Representation companies, DMCs, oftentimes will have representatives in other markets promoting their business and their services. Collaboration partners such as Saudia and FlyNAS certainly can promote DMCs in different parts of their network. DMC alliances directly from the client, and of course from the PCO and the event owners themselves. So there's a lot of opportunities that we've kind of breezed through, if you will, on how important DMCs are in the events industry. And I go back to my opening statement. where we've identified from a bureau's perspective that there really is a lack of tourism services that are available to event organizers. And that could be a lack of awareness on event organizers. Maybe they just don't know that they should be offering these services. Or there could be a lack of product. There could be a lack of suppliers in the marketplace that actually offer those to event organizers. So we're going to continue to offer this kind of feedback, this kind of observation as we continue to develop the sector, and hopefully we can see more of these moving into the future. Okay, I will be available for questions, comments, and certainly your feedback is absolutely important to us. So I will be up here for questions. It's kind of difficult to answer questions in this environment, but I will be up here if anybody wants to come up for questions. Okay? Thank you very much. Yes, it will be available on the STEM website, yeah. And I can email it to you too if you have a business card.
I just found I'm DMC.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm a tour operator.
Okay.
But actually I'm doing the DMC mostly.
Oh,
and
okay.
we are bigger than Jola, we're a company.
Really?
We have now contract with Aramco, Sadara, Dow.
Excellent,
For all
excellent.
businesses, we even mail them in Europe and the States, make sure Abaya is available, culture awareness.
Excellent,
We meet
excellent.
them at the airport at the executive level.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we take them to the hotels. Next day we take them in a tour on the site. We take them to the business. We insure them. We have 24 hours injured line.
Excellent, excellent.
So just in case if somebody have nobody knows, he doesn't dial 911. He
That was
our
you.
number.
Your number, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But this is where we need your help, you and Tara, you know. I didn't know that. I met him at the door and he pulled me back.
Yeah.
We need your help, you know. We are a company, Saudi company.
Where you're based in
We are
Dammam?
based
Or?
in Kingdom-wide, but our administration office in Dammam.
In Dammam, okay.
Yes, we
Okay.
are almost 30 years in. Actually, we started as outbound services. We do the visa services
Okay.
for locals who wants to travel abroad.
Okay.
We do their services. We do the application centers.
Excellent, excellent.
تفضل دكتور معانا.
يعني ورا بس معلش شوي.
وين هنا؟ Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
خلاص؟
Good.
الهيئة العامة للسياحة والآثار. ملتقى السفر والاستثمار السياحي